everybody, welcome back to part 2 of my series where I am talking about the process that I went through to lose 100 pounds. This week, we are going to be talking about physical therapy and how I learned to move safely and a little bit about my brain-body connection as a neurodivergent person. And yes, I am filming these all at the same time, so you get one outfit. I'm sorry, that's just how it's going to be. Okay, let's go. Let's start. Welcome to the intro. A couple of things going in. First, this is not medical advice, nor can I guarantee that anything that worked for me will work for you. We are different people with different experiences, and it is beautiful and lovely that we can coexist. My experience is not yours, and if you do not see yourself represented in this story, then this story may not be for you, and I honor and validate that, and I truly wish you well. Second, I am going to be honest here. This video, this is your trigger warning, this is your content warning. We are going to be talking about disability and pain and eating disorders and all of that kind of stuff. So if you are not in a place to receive that or listen to that, be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself, come back when you're ready. But I'm just saying that ahead of time. And also, I just want to warn you that I am going to be more honest here than you are probably used to seeing me. And part of that is because I want to be direct about the challenges that I was facing and how truly, actually, for really hard it was, and how hard I had to work to get where I am in my recovery. And I'm sharing all of this because I want you to know that if you are struggling with similar things, you are allowed to want something different. You are allowed to work towards feeling better. The work is hard. It can feel difficult. It can feel impossible. But even when it feels insurmountable and impossible and difficult, I hope that you hear my story and it resonates. So yeah, with all of that being said, let us. I fucking hate the word just. For some reason, just gets thrown around a ton when it comes to discussions of neurodivergence and or disability. Just get a planner. Just take a walk. Just do a little bit every day. Great, thanks, Brenda. I'm fucking cured. Prayer hands emoji. Derogatory. So in part 1, I talked about making the decision to start making changes. But what I learned immediately is that there is no such thing as just deciding to make changes. All I had to do was just go for a walk, just change my diet, just get healthier. If you have ADHD, there is a huge, sometimes insurmountable gap between the just and the thing you should be justing. Just get off the couch. Just take a shower. Just stop interrupting people. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. You're just not trying hard enough. You're just not focusing. You just need to try harder. 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 Here's what they don't see. One of the hardest parts about living with neurodivergence is that nobody can see the internalized barriers keeping us from doing the thing, but to us, they are inescapably and tangibly real. Sometimes I feel like I have to claw my way through thick, oily cobwebs and waves of depression to even begin the process of thinking about doing the thing, let alone accomplishing it. Outsiders, non-neurodivergent people love insisting on the unreality of the neurodivergent and disabled experience. They call us liars, attention seekers, fakers. We're being overdramatic, immature, woke snowflakes who want everything handed to us. So a lot of us resort to pretending we're fine, forcing ourselves to invalidate our own experiences, to mask and push through and continue telling others that we're wrong and weird and broken for not being able to just do the thing. Layers of executive functioning difficulties, time perception differences, wildly common comorbidities like anxiety and depression, they all combine to make just a very hard thing to get to indeed. And it sucks how often even the best and most well-intentioned people will cheerfully look a burnt out, chronic pain managing, neurodivergent parent in the face and say, just go for a walk, just find some time for yourself. So once again in therapy, one day I found myself complaining about it. Just go for a walk, just move my body, just sign up for a yoga class, just make healthier choices, just eat better. Didn't they know that it wasn't just about doing something? Didn't they know how hard it was to just do anything at all? Go further, my therapist would say, dig deeper. Sometimes I found that there was safety in acquiescing to the just. If I decided the just was too hard, then I couldn't possibly just. I could protect myself, protect my body. Didn't they know that just to move meant risking more pain? Didn't they know that stillness was safe? And if I didn't move, I couldn't get hurt and start the cycle all over again. Deeper than that, my therapist would say. The sense of loss, the sense of frustration, the sense of fear and anxiety I felt about not getting better. What if I failed? What if I fucked up? What if I did try? What if I dedicated all of this time and energy and effort and change to finally doing the thing? And then, because what would always happen would happen again, because I always fuck it up. I always ruin it. Everything I touch falls away to ash. What if my systems fail? Because they will fail. What if I forget? Because I will forget. What if after all of this, what if I just wind up right back where I started? You might, said my therapist. But if you're so certain you'll fail, then build failure into your system. Failure doesn't have to be the end of anything. It can just be a step in a continued process. Dear reader, I was so mad at how logical this was. She was right. To just start moving, I just had to confront my fear of failure and entire understanding of myself. Easy. Then, of course, there was the matter of actually moving. For years, I'd followed the same cycle. I'd get frustrated with my obvious weight gain and diligently work out, try eating well, get bored and frustrated with small incremental growth. I wanted immediate results, so I'd start starving myself and overworking out past my actual ability. I'd overdo it to the point of injury. I'd wind up fucking up my already fucked up back and hips further, and I'd lose even more mobility. Then I'd struggle emotionally with the loss of control, blame myself, start binging and or purging, gain a bunch of weight, get to the point where I really needed to make a change, start diligently working out again, try eating well, get bored and frustrated. Because of this constant cycle of injury and exacerbation, I had to start with physical therapy. And I need you, I need you to understand that this was the most boring goddamn shit you have ever experienced in your life. Like, this was not fun, cool, run on a treadmill and learn how to toe run like a hot lioness goddess Olympian like I thought it was going to be. This was sitting in a circle with 7 other 70 to 80-year-olds while I pointed my toes and then flexed my toes and then pointed my toes and then flexed my toes in 10 sets of 10 for an hour every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 months. It was infuriating. It was humiliating. It was, I cannot stress this enough, so goddamn boring that I'd frequently skip appointments. I would forget about appointments. I would miss appointments, which, you're not going to believe this, slowed down the pace greatly, which made it even more slow and boring. I never did the home exercises, and I would lie cheerfully and directly and unapologetically into my therapist's face about it. And let's be real, she always fucking knew anyway. But slowly, over the course of that first year, I started working to build up the muscles that I needed to functionally exist as a person. And this is where that I found out not only did I struggle interoceptively to process feeling in my stomach, I also had exceptionally limited muscle control. So the entire bottom of my abs, the rectus abdominis and the transverse abdominis, if you're freaky, they were barely functional, and I had no ability to control them. And upon discovery of that, we basically had to sort of start from scratch again, realizing like how much it was changing my posture. It was really boring. So, but basically there were huge sections of my body that I couldn't feel or control very well at all. All of the former pushing through injury and punishing myself with exercise had left me with a deeply imbalanced muscular structure and weird movement habits that were exacerbated by my lack of somatic connection. The more I moved with these imbalances, the worse my issues became, which made it harder to move, which made it harder to get better, which made the imbalances worse. I learned about anterior pelvic tilts and IT bands and supination versus pronation and 10 sets of 10 at a time for hours, for days, for weeks on end. Every time I thought I'd broken the cycle and figured out the secret to the single thing that would instantly make me better, another fucking cycle showed up to remind me that literally nothing about this was going to be easy. Most of it was going to land squarely in the Venn diagram overlap of tedious, fucking boring, repetitive, and incremental, and rudely, foundationally necessary if you want to make any progress. At the same time, I was doing different and yet weirdly similar exercises in therapy to build a better brain body connection. I get stupid fucking therapy homework, like do a yoga video, and I would do it, resenting every boring, still, slow minute. And then I'd feel amazing afterwards. And I would begrudgingly report back to my therapist that, yes, actually, it was very nice, but I'd still also hated every minute of it. And she would sigh deeply, as became tradition. I spent weeks exploring movement, discovering with a sort of fascination that the slow, tiny things that I was doing were making something of an impact on my ability to actually, for really move, bend, twist, lift, crouch, roll around with my dog. And so movement begat a number of setbacks because I still wanted to do too much, too fast, because I was bored and ambitious and I wanted to see some goddamn progress. But progress got made literally a step at a time. I went from being able to walk to the end of the driveway without pain to the end of the street, then around the block, then around the neighborhood, then to the coffee shop until my upper range was around 5 miles. Having had difficulties at 5 meters, you can sort of imagine the novelty continued to increase as I started being able to use the body I'd been working so hard to rebuild. Movement made me better. I'll talk more about this in later parts, but moving helped me lose weight, which helped me move more, which helped me lose weight, which reduced my pain, which reduced the strain on my joints, which reduced the strain on my knees and ankles and degenerating discs, and I started to actually, for real, actually feel better. And once again, I felt myself wrestling with real, confusing, messy, stupid anger about it. By this point, a year and change into the process, I'd take Bailey and we'd walk. And I'd think a lot about how I was doing exactly what they said I should do. Just take a walk. But I'd spent all this time working towards the walk I was taking, and almost none of it involved putting shoes on pavement. I needed tools, structure, stability, both literal and figurative. I needed not only a better understanding of my own physical body, but an understanding of who I was to get to this point. I had to learn processing and coping skills just as much as I needed to learn how to stretch my IT band. It's funny because just take a walk is also the advice we give to people with depression all the time. Just take a walk. Walks are great for people with depression. The science shows that walking will help. What that advice doesn't provide is the acknowledgement that just taking a walk isn't so very simple when you are overwhelmed and helpless. When you are so far into your depression that you cannot possibly imagine making a change, can't even begin to think about where to start, when you don't know where your walking shoes are because they're buried in your depression garbage where clean socks are, and on and on. A walk is never just a walk. I would get so angry that movement, the thing that had eluded me, was also the thing that was actively contributing to the bettering of my circumstances and a relief to my symptoms. I get frustrated on bad days when I pushed too far and activated my pain centers or threw my back out doing something innocuous and stupid. And then I would have to take those moments into therapy to work on intentionality, on patience, on impulse control, on building better supports and structures that actually supported my process as it happened, not how I wanted it to happen, which is in two entirely different things, apparently. The consistency is what nearly killed me. Consistency is hard, but with ADHD, it can be nearly impossible to create. Just go to the gym. You'll start getting in the habit. Just do a little bit every day. It'll become second nature. I have never had habits. I have a daily constant onslaught of information about what I am doing versus what I should be doing versus what I could be doing. And everything I do from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed is something I manually choose to do. I have to think through every action. And at any point, if I get interrupted or mistakenly do something in the wrong order, it is entirely possible that one leg will go unshaved or my bottom teeth will go unbrushed, and I will not notice it until hours later, if I notice it at all. But rudely and annoyingly, consistent movement is what was necessary. And so I had to take those moments into therapy to unpack and figure out how to process and navigate, which I'm going to talk about more in later parts. And those moments would beget more moments until I started feeling like a weird middleman between my brain and my body, which honestly was kind of what I'd always felt like anyway. So it was at least comfortable there, if that makes sense. I will fully admit that this is also where I thought I was coasting. I thought I was done and dusted. I told myself things were fine and I had it under control. My movement was improving a little at a time. I was working to develop systems and structures. But actually, the more I moved, quite literally, the hungrier I got, and I wound up falling directly and immediately back into disordered eating habits. Restricting because it meant I'd see progress faster, not having enough nutrition to support my now moving body, feeling desperately hungry, and then that would turn into a binge, the guilt of the binge turning into the shame of a purge, and I would vow to do better and get my shit back together this time for real and for sure, only for the process to repeat itself a couple of days later, over and over and over. I had the brutally honest revelation that if I didn't get my bulimia under control, I wasn't going to be able to continue to make progress with my mobility. And that would inevitably lead me right back to where I had started. No matter how many excuses I made or justifications I intellectualized as it not being that bad and just a couple of slip ups that I didn't really have a problem, I realized, kind of Doctor Strange style, that every reality in which I continued to spiral into binge eating and purging was one where I lose everything that I've been working towards. And I hated it. I was mad, I was angry, I was guilty, I was embarrassed, I was hopeful, I was terrified, and I realized that it was time to address my eating disorder. And that, dear listener, is what we're going to talk about next week. Thank you so much for being here.